Okay, so I am doing the presentation on Chapter 14, which is Stress, Lifestyle, and Health, and my name is Grace Tricky. Oops. Okay, so what is stress? I had a YouTube video attached, but unfortunately it will not let me play it for some reason. So we'll attach that separately. But stress is a loosely used word to describe negative feelings when we are overwhelmed, like anxiety. It occurs when there's a demanding or threatening event or situation. Researcher Hans Selye said that it was a response of the body to any demand, whether it's caused by or results in pleasant or unpleasant conditions. So what that means is that there's good stress and there's bad stress. The good stress is known as eustress, meaning it's the kind of stress that motivates us, to be productive, like study or exercise or go to the doctors. But when stress levels exceed optimal level to motivate performance, stress becomes negative and it becomes known as distress. And prolonged distress can lead to decline in performance and, health issues. So Walter Cannon, again, another YouTube video, he was the first to identify the body's physiological reactions to stress in 1932, and he identified what was known as the fight or flight response. This occurs when a person experiences very strong emotions, especially those associated with a perceived threat, and assists in maintaining our homeostasis, which, as we know, is like the body's balance. And Hans Selye initially researched sex hormones in rats in the 1930s, and instead found that prolonged stress can cause signs of adrenal enlargement, thymus and lymph node shrinkage, and stomach ulcers. So he found that the physiological reactions were nonspecific, which means that regardless of the type of stressor, the same pattern of reactions would occur. This is known as the general adaptation syndrome, which is the body's nonspecific physiological response to stress. Okay, so the physiology of stress. So reactions to stress occur when we're faced with demanding situations. So how it works is, the stress triggers arousal via the release of adrenaline from the adrenal glands. Release of these hormones activates the fight or flight response to stress, such as accelerated heart rate and respiration, when you get nervous and you have adrenaline. And at the same time, the HPA axis, which is primarily endocrine in nature, becomes especially active, although it works much more slowly than the sympathetic nervous system. In response to stress, the hypothalamus, which is part of the limbic system in the brain, releases corticotrophin releasing factor, which is a hormone that causes the pituitary gland to release adrenocorticotropic hormone. So major causes of stress include major life changes, trauma, day-to-day responsibilities and hassles, work, and our social relationships. So a huge part of stress can be trauma, which is when you're exposed to actual or threatened death or serious injury. Things that can cause trauma, being in the military, threatened or actual physical assaults, natural disasters, being in a car accident, all these things can cause stress. And if it's so traumatic, often a lot of people develop PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder, which is chronic stress reaction characterized by experiences and behaviors that may include intrusive and painful memories of the stressor event, jumpiness, persistent negative emotional states, detachment from others, angry outbursts, and avoidance of reminders of the event. So life changes can cause a lot of stress. The death of a close family member or a loved one, marriage, divorce, moving, serving long jail time, and a lot of these events go on the social readjustment rating scale, which was founded by Thomas Holmes and Richard Rahe in the 1960s. who examined the link between life stressors and physical illness based on the hypothesis that life events requiring significant changes in a person's normal life routines are stressful. So the scale consists of 43 life events that require varying degrees of personal readjustment. And I've attached a little diagram so you can see. So the top ones, death of a spouse, divorce, marital separation, jail time, those are the top stressors, and so on. So daily hassles can cause us a lot of stress. Minor irritations or annoyances, like losing your keys or being stuck in traffic, dealing with annoying people, that can cause a lot of stress. And they can build on one another and leave us just as stressed as life change events, and they can eventually add up to leave a emotional or physical toll. And it's actually a better predictor of both physical and psychological health than life change units when they're all added up and they build on each other. Social media is something that most of us use every day, and it can be a significant source of stress for a lot of people. There's a lot of pressure to look a certain way, act a certain way, and a lot of us are on it, like I said, every day for significant periods of time. So that can be stressful for some people. Work is like one of the top things that stress you out, especially when you have a dangerous occupation, like firefighters, police officers, medical workers, nurses, and there's two common denominators that can make a job stressful, which is heavy workload and uncertainty or lack of control over certain aspects of a job. For example, if you don't know if you'll be able to keep your job and it's kind of up in the air, that can be stressful for a lot of people. And these things can lead to job strain, which is the excessive job demands and workload with little discretion in decision-making or job control. And job burnout, which is the general sense of emotional exhaustion and eventual detesting of one's job, which sucks because if you have to work every day, you want to be doing something that you are happy doing, or else you'll deal with a lot of stress. Social relationships can totally be stressful. There's a lot of pressure to be social and maintain solid relationships with close friends and family. And there's a lot of negative aspects to this, like adverse exchanges and conflicts, lack of emotional support or confiding, lack of reciprocity. All these things can strain the relationship, and they can be stressful, especially if these are people that you see every day, and these are people that you count on for support. Okay, so psychophysiological disorders, again, a YouTube video. So these are physical disorders or diseases whose symptoms are brought about or worsened by stress and emotional factors. There's cardiovascular disorders like hypertension and coronary heart disease, respiratory disorders, asthma, allergies, and musculoskeletal disorders, which are lower back pain and tension headaches. So our immune system plays a big part. It's basically our body's surveillance system, which protects the body from invading toxins and microorganisms that can harm or damage the body's tissues and organs. And psychoneuroimmunology is how psychological factors such as stress influence the immune system and its functioning. So it shows us that there's a connection between the nervous system and the immune system. Researchers Adam and Cohen in 1975 found that immune responses can be classically conditioned in both animals and humans, which proves that if we can be classically conditioned, we can be psychologically conditioned and altered, which shows that there's a lot of emotional aspect to being stressed and having a weak immune system, which means that having a poor or weak immune system means you're prone to more stressors. Okay, so the cardiovascular system, it's central in the stress response. Prolonged stress can lead to heart disease, which, as most of us know, is the number one leading cause of death in the U.S. and developed countries. Symptoms of heart disease can include severe chest pain known as angina, shortness of breath, pain or discomfort in the neck or back or jaws. And these things can eventually lead to a heart attack, which, as we know, can be severe and often fatal. Hypertension is high blood pressure, which can be caused as a result of stress, um, which means that more physical stress is being put on your heart as it is forced to pump faster. And it's known as a silent killer because, unfortunately, there are little to no symptoms of it. So you could have it and not even know that you have it. And having high blood pressure, of course, can lead to heart attack, stroke, and kidney failure. So people with type A blood are more likely to develop heart disease because these people are known to be excessively, driven to work hard. They're often impatient, hostile, or irritable toward other people. They're just trying to get their work done and go. This is why it's so important to relate positively to our surroundings, being patient, taking breaks, exercising, just relaxing. So depression. People with heart disease commonly become depressed, and vice versa. People who are depressed often develop heart disease as well. So when you're diagnosed with depression when you're a child or when you're young, you're more likely to develop unhealthy lifestyles, which can lead to having heart disease, like not exercising, not taking care of your body, smoking, eventually maybe becoming obese as a result. This correlation shows us that there's an emotional toll that's responsible for and is caused by stress. Asthma. Asthma is when your respiratory system and your airways become obstructed, making it difficult to breathe. You have tightness in your chest, wheezing, shortness of the breath. And a lot of these people who have asthma experience extensive feelings of anxiety, which can lead to stress eventually. A lot of people who are exposed to stressful events like marriage, divorce, and moving that I mentioned before can cause someone to develop asthma or asthmatic symptoms. And like I said, stress can cause obstruction of airways and asthma attacks. Tension headaches are really big. It's when you have continuous pain in your head and your neck areas. It often leads to migraines, which are more like intense headaches. But tension headaches are triggered by the tightening and tensing of your face muscles or neck muscles. And it's caused by overexertion or overworking, sleep deprivation, eye strain, all the same things that you might experience when you're stressed or that might result from stress. And those who regularly suffer from headaches are more likely to be stressed. So the pursuit of happiness. When I'm referring to happiness, this refers to long-term happiness, not just a fleeting feeling. This refers to inner fulfillment and inner peace. In the long run, being happy leads to a healthier lifestyle, which is known to reduce stress. When you're happy, you're more motivated to exercise or eat better or live a good life. So there's 3 categories of different emphases on what happiness is and what it means to be happy. And there's the pleasant life, the good life, and meaningful life. And I'll show on the next slide. Here we have a diagram. Excuse me. We have a diagram that shows the different emphases on what happiness is. So the pleasant life, enjoying daily pleasures, just enjoying the good vibes and, just taking pleasure from life. The meaningful life, contributing to the greater good. Sometimes, helping people, donating to those in need, helping the homeless, contributing to the greater good, can make you happy. It can make you feel good, like you've made a difference. And the good life is, using skills for enrichment, like going to school to better yourself, just taking pleasure out of enriching yourself and your education, that can often make you happy. So there's a lot of factors to what can lead to long-term happiness. A lot of people, as they get older, they have more appreciation for life, and they're more fulfilled and satisfied, which makes them generally happier. Social support directly relates uh, to happiness, getting quality time with your friends and your loved ones, having that physical contact, that can definitely make you happy. Having stable or comfortable income. They say that money doesn't buy happiness, but you don't have to worry about affording rent or how you're going to pay your bills. Where your next meal is going to come from. You can go on vacations to relax. You're able to treat yourself more often. And these things can often make you happy. So, yeah, being financially comfortable can definitely reduce stress and make you happy. So life events. So it's impossible to predict the future. Often we can't foresee stressful life events like moving. Sometimes you get a job and you have to move far away. Divorce. Usually people don't plan that. Death of a loved one, of course. And how we adapt to those life changes can affect our happiness level. We eventually get over it and we learn to cope with it. And that determines, our happiness a lot of the time. So positive psychology is known as the science of happiness, basically. Um, it's when you identify and promote factors that contribute to happiness and fulfillment. So things like creativity and empathy and compassion, these things, can make you happy, make you feel good. So a positive effect, is just relating positively to your surroundings and your environment, actively looking for peace and joy, which, as we know, helps fight and avoid heart disease, excuse me, having a positive outlook could definitely help. And being optimistic, definitely, just looking on the bright side of things, not just seeing the negative of the situation, knowing that it can always get better, can definitely make you happy. So flow is a particular experience that is so engaging and engrossing that it becomes worth doing for its own sake. Taking pleasure in the activities you do, like enjoying your job. I've heard of a lot of people who, they don't get paid a lot, but they love what they do, so they don't want to quit to go find a job that pays them more because they're happy doing what they're doing. Or going to school to better yourself, like I said. A lot of people take pleasure in learning and enriching themselves. And when you're in a flow, you lose track of time because you're just so like engaged with this activity that makes you happy, and this disregards wealth and material possessions. You don't have to be rich to enjoy things, just like being happy with the things that you have and making the most out of it. And creating flow-like conditions for yourself will make you a happier person in the long run. So coping with stress is very important to gain control of your stress and, figure out the source of it and learning to cope with these negative feelings to avoid illness or health issues that, as we know, can arise from being stressed. So things you can do is, actively working to solve the problem. If what's stressing you out is that you have a lot of chores that you have to do, just getting up and just, getting those things done. That can definitely help you just working on the problem just to get it done. Or distancing yourself from the issue completely, if it's out of your hands. There was an example in the book, in the textbook, that said if you have like a 40-page essay due in the morning and you haven't started at all, and you're just up all night stressing like, oh my God, my grade's gonna go down and my teacher's gonna yell at me or whatever. Um, I don't know, there's not much that you can do by the morning, to write a 40-page essay. So sometimes it's better to just go to bed and deal with the consequences tomorrow, the next day. Changing your perspective in order to talk yourself out of negative emotions or feelings, just being kind to yourself when you're stressed out. That can definitely help cope with stress, just telling yourself, like, you're going to be okay. Social support, just spending time with your friends, getting advice and encouragement, support from your friends, family, loved ones can definitely be helpful in reducing stress. And those with greater physical contact with others, tend to be happier and healthier. And it can often boost your your immune system, which means you're less likely to get sick with something like a common cold, because physical contact, being with other people, is it's good for you. And it could lead to a healthier lifestyle. Spending time with people who encourage and support you, you become more motivated to succeed and work a little harder. So stress reduction techniques, biofeedback machines are used by people who have heart disease. It's electronic equipment that measures stress levels by monitoring your heart rate, and it beeps sometimes when your stress levels exceed normality, which allows the person wearing it to manage or control their source of stress so they can not be stressed anymore. Exercise helps a lot. It's helpful for both physical and mental health, and of course it's known to be a great stress reliever. Relaxation, just getting in a relaxed position, either laying down or sitting, breathing deeply, repeating a mantra, which is just a term or a sentence that you repeat over and over again to you're putting that out into existence, and motivating yourself, helping yourself, and thinking positively, just having a positive outlook, and meditating can be really good. And I included a YouTube video that will not show, just of like some shapes moving, and it's very relaxing to look at, so I thought I would include that, because I think a lot of people are stressed out, especially with this corona thing going on. It sucks and it's out of our hands, but sometimes the best thing you can do is just relax and tell yourself eventually, we're gonna get through this. And yeah, just find some time to relax at some point during the day. And yeah, try to reduce your own stress, and yeah, just find that peace. Anyways, that's the end of the presentation. Thank you guys.